That's okay.
Shukran. Shukran. Here we go. Anything we do now is going to be live streaming on Facebook.
All right. Then are you on Zoom? Yes. Oh, okay. My sister is here as well from Lagos.
Perfect. So
Okay.
here, can we just check the community table page so that we can share it on our pages? Supposed to be.
Can you share it on my page as well, or that would be hard?
Yeah, you can.
How do
So
I
from there, so you just click on share and then start a watch party.
Share from your Facebook, right?
From the community table page.
Oh, okay. So I'm open.
Now live. So what I'm gonna do.
Payroll. All right, I see that. Yes.
So what I'm gonna do.
Ooh, okay.
I can hear me.
Yeah. I do share. Okay. Okay. How do I share this?
Click on the share button. Does it give you an option of it to share it on your timeline?
Right now, it's not doing that actually.
I just shared it on my timeline. Maybe you'd be able to see it on my page.
Let me see. Okay, I can share it. Yes. Okay. Raising global citizens. Okay. All right. Sorry, everyone, for making me waiting. I need just one more.
I'm gonna just start recording when we're ready.
All right. 1 minute.
Awesome.
Actually, it's fine. I'm ready.
You ready? We're ready. We are gonna go and start recording. First of all, excuse the background noise. Welcome everybody to Community Table. We are back again. We took a long break from the summer 2020 where we were discussing racial justice movements around the world. It was a really exciting panel and series. And we're back again now with a new series that is mostly about stories of migrants and families and expats, and linking all of that into actually action items and tips and very interesting deep conversations between people from lots of different cultures and backgrounds. And that's what makes Community Table very exciting. For those of you who are new, Community Table is a space created to amplify diverse voices. It's a tight-knit community of humans that are beautifully open and unapologetically themselves. This is a space where we can share our stories and talk about our experiences. So all of that to bridge the gap between us. So hopefully, inshallah, one day Community Table aims to be one of the leading platforms in the Middle East and North Africa region to bridge the gap between different cultures and promote peace and understanding. We're doing our small little part in this, and we're so excited today actually to have you, Salam, with us here discussing sharing stories and perspectives on a topic that I think is very near and dear to you and to myself. So we would like to start off with having you doing a very, very, very small overview of your, mashallah, really broad and very beautiful story that you have. But if somebody would have asked you, Salam and global citizenship, could you give us a short journey of what is Salam's journey and how he ended up in Abu Dhabi?
Okay. First of all, as you just mentioned, that the theme is very close to my heart. It is because I'm a third culture child myself, and And this actually is very close to my heart because I don't know if many of you know me or not, but I am Syrian in origin. I've moved to Nigeria, Lagos, where I spent most of my childhood years, where it enriched my whole life, the multicultural that I lived in. It really broadened my perspectives in many different ways. It was very enriching in so many ways. I then moved to Lebanon, Beirut, Lebanon, for my university years, and then I moved to the UAE, Abu Dhabi. And I feel that this has given me a wide perspective over so many things. It has enriched my whole life. It has made me more tolerant, more understanding, more accepting towards others. It has definitely it's a tremendous opportunity um, for me to be creative, for me to learn and grow and develop and to succeed in life, definitely.
That is awesome. You know, it's really interesting the link, you know, from Syria to Africa back to the Middle East, and now in a different area of the Middle East and all of that, and carrying all of these different pieces. I would like to delve and go back and rewind a little bit into um, the beginnings of Salam, because we're going to try to tie all of that, of course, into the next piece of it, which is, you know, us being mothers. So which type of which part of the Syrian, Nigerian, Lebanese, Emirati culture, which mosaic pieces do you think you picked up on? Or is there one of them that you feel more affiliated to, more than the others?
I think being a third culture child always keeps you in a state that you do belong, but you're always an outsider in some way. Even when you
Mm,
go back, you're a bit different. But that's
mm,
not anything negative. I do believe it's a positive and it broadens your perspectives, as I said before. From Syria, I did get the passion of belonging and the passion of family and my culture and traditions that I'm very proud of.
mm,
From Nigeria, I can say that I got so many things that are close to my heart. Tolerance. I I got raised in Nigeria, so the tolerance, the understanding, I got it from Lagos, from Nigeria, from the people, the light-hearted people who taught me how to be sweet and accepting for others.
mm,
In Lebanon, I learned a new type of freedom, which I haven't learned before. It was opening me up to the world around me in a different perspective. In Abu Dhabi, I learned perseverance. I learned that this generous land, which teaches you so many things, in its little short time, it has produced so much. I think I did learn in each single place so many different things that enriched my experience as a whole and has
mm,
made me grow and flourish in a different way.
mm. This really resonated a lot with me. There were pieces of it, like when you said that, you know, there is belonging, but in some ways you're an outsider. And this has always been this mystery for me, right? It's always this belonging piece that I've been working on, you know, all of my life. And I think when I'm in the US, it's clear that in so many different ways, I'm an immigrant. You know, I'm an outsider to the system. So I'm American, yes. I have the passport, yes. I might blend in certain parts, in certain cities, in certain streets, but I'm an outsider. If someone walked into my house or, you know, spoke to me for a little bit of time, my train of thoughts and my ways of being is outsiderish. When I go to Sudan, where when I flee all of that to go to where I belong and I walk in the streets of Khartoum, it's the same thing. People ask me, where are you from? And it was during a time when there wasn't much tourism. So, and I kind of look like the people of the land. So where am I going to be from? But people ask me all the time, where are you from? Are you from Kenya? Are you from the, so it's very interesting, this whole belonging. And sometimes you end up in places where you don't belong, that people think you belong. Like going to Nairobi and suddenly you belong more than you belong in Sudan in the US. And it's very interesting, like that whole like piece of like, but also like belonging to the rest of the world. And it's really beautiful that, you know, speaking about like learning tolerance and perseverance and all of that from all of the different places, having them sit together. So if we were to go back and ask about when did you start your journey of like traveling and really connecting with people from cultures that were outside of your main mosaic pieces? Was it college years? Was it before that?
As long as you remember, Isra, because in Nigeria, there's lots of expatriates as well. You meet
Mm,
people in school and your neighborhoods from all walks of life, like in Abu Dhabi, but a bit maybe less. But you do that, and it enriches your experience in so many ways. It teaches you about other cultures, other traditions, other foods, because we all, in a way, express ourselves through emotions and through food and through presenting each other with the things that we care about. We know
mm,
Arabs, we do that a lot. We give the fattoush, we give the
yeah.
tabout, hummus, and we want to, be very like, how do we call it? Like, we want to show the other person that we care. We want to be generous. So I do believe that every single culture has its special things about it, and
Mm,
it's when you learn about others, it teaches you, and it gets you out of your bubble, I guess,
mhm,
because
mhm,
the only way you can learn and grow is when you get out of your comfort zone. And
mm,
I think that's what it does to you, for sure.
mm. You know, the thing that comes into mind, right? Because in a sense, like you're a third culture child. I was a third culture child, my, you know, coming from Sudan, and my father was in Saudi for a while and then he was in the US. My experience with being amongst like lots of different children as a young child, part of it was positive and beautiful, but part of it included like lots of perhaps bullying or lots of trying to find my way and building my character. I've been, I don't know if this is public, but I've been like kicked out of schools because of fights, because of, I had to really fight my way. So um, I was one, like, yeah, there is some beauty to this, you know, diversity and stuff, but a lot of my earlier memories was um, I had to push to basically have a ground or a say or be respected or I wonder with your experience in schooling and stuff, if you had the experience like you were, you know, Syrian in Nigeria. I was more like Sudanese in Saudi or something, or, you know, African American in the US, very different experience. But did you have these experiences where you had to the fights and the and the trying to, did you have that rough beginning a little bit, or was
I
it
have to
just
say, I was a
beautiful?
tomboy. Isra. I know you wouldn't believe that, but I was a tomboy. I was the karate kid at school, which
Oh,
was not a bully, but was somebody a bit like tough. And yeah, I did have my part definitely at school. It was not because of the cultural differences, but as I said before, when you're a third culture child or kid, you do feel that you're an outsider sometime. When you go back home, you're somebody mughtarib. You're somebody who has been out, who maybe are not judged. That's a positive, exactly like people are judged in your homeland
mm,
because you're outside, but you're not belonging completely. And the same thing when you're outsider in another country, but it has its disadvantages and advantages. However, I always like to talk about the book. By the way, the great author is Sudanese as well.
oh,
He's Sudanese, Tayyip Saleh. He says that he feels like he compares himself to a palm tree, very deeply rooted with deep roots, that
mm,
meaning that he cares about his background, his culture, his tradition, where he's from, at the same time with wide open leaves exposed
mm,
to the world. like open hands.
Mm,
This gives him a greater outlook to the world and more acceptance, more understanding. And
mm,
I believe that it's a saying that I always feel that it's good to live by, especially that
mm,
the world now is more diverse and we cannot go back, we can only go forward, and it's becoming more diverse by the second. I like,
right.
yes.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, Al Tayyib Saleh, oh my God. Like his book, the
Season of Migration to the North.
yes, yes, translated into so many different languages. So amazing. Thank you um, for that answer. And it makes me like, you know, bring us to this point that you have just, you know, mentioned, whereas we can't go backwards, we're only going forward, and it's getting more and more, we're living in a more and more globalized world. So do you feel, what are one of the main things that you think are different between the day and age that we grew in as third culture children and, um, you know, building our character to become global citizens, and what our three children right now are experiencing? But I guess before that, I would like to, you know, ask you to introduce us to your three children, their ages, a little bit about them, so that when we're mentioning that, there is some reference to them.
I have three children, Sultan, Farah, and Faris. We named them Arabic names, and Sultan is my eldest. He's 11, and Farah is my heart. She's 8, and Faris is 6. He's my youngest and the most naughty, I guess. My three children are aware of their tradition, Isra, and their culture and where they come from. I always remind them.
What is their
Uh,
culture?
I'm going to take you back with me a bit to my culture and my parents.
Mhm, mhm,
Tell me what's different between us, maybe, and our children. I'll tell you what's different between us and our parents as well, because we live in a bubble compared to our kids. If you think about it, on the internet and
mhm,
everything going through. I used to play with my sister with the sand, with everything. Now, I mean, they can get to the moon if they want to. It's really like madness, but it's beautiful, and they have an advantage. At the same time, if I want to look back at my family, how they raised us, basically our children are very lucky because their mother is a third culture kid. So I found ease because of the multicultural I was brought in. I found ease and comfort in a multicultural environment.
mhm,
So I could educate my children. I can educate my children about this and about the openness of the world, and in different perspectives, how they can embrace this world around them, which my parents basically didn't have. But I have
mhm,
to give credit for my parents that they didn't compromise to give it all to us. I remember them teaching us about tradition, although we weren't living in our own land,
mhm,
about our culture, about our language. My mother would sit me and my sister after school, which was very hectic, to teach us Arabic because there was no Arabic in Nigeria. I
oh,
didn't tell you we used to like it. It was a very hard language. Like my children are suffering now, I suffered then, my sister and I.
mm,
But she did teach us the language very well, writing and talking, and she didn't compromise it at all. At the same time, they taught us to be open minded and to understand and accept others and not to judge.
mm,
I will move and pass this legacy on to my kids for sure. And
mm,
I do believe that with the internet now, we can become even better mothers because all the information is in front of us. And we can even pass some taboos by open conversations and
yeah,
watching so many things that maybe our parents didn't watch. So I do
yeah,
believe we are in a lucky place and we can
yeah.
do things.
I really, you know what I really like? I really like how the points that you answer to are the same things that I pay attention to, but you have a positive spin on it. It's more positive. Like when I think about the day and age that our children are in, and you're thinking about resources, and it's helpful, and For me, I'm like, resources, shut down the TV, shut down the iPad, throw it out of the window. You know, I'm like, I see that, but it brings me more unease than ease. But I really like how it's, yeah, we're keyed into the same thing, but somehow for some reason, it these resources makes me want to keep them young longer so that they have a similar experience to me, where I was just playing until I don't know how old I was. And like, it's just scares me how fast children are growing nowadays. They're going really fast. The reason why there is global citizen and globalization and all of this is because of the internet. So a person who is sitting in a village somewhere in Sudan can speak to someone in China and can watch Korean drama and can watch Turkish drama, and they are in themselves, not by, you know, going to a university or school or whatever. They're learning about all of these different cultures, and there's beauty to it. But it's also a very scary age, or I don't know if I'm overthinking this. It's really scary what our kids are going through. First of all, it's like they're growing really fast. Information is at their fingertips, which means you have to be wired 24/7. Or maybe I'm always wired and I shouldn't be, but like wired 24/7 about, like, I almost feel like, you know, this beauty of like teaching them our culture, teaching, like, literally people, YouTubers are raising our kids, and the Norris nuts and I don't know who, and all of these people are raising our kids. And like, if we don't curse at home, they can pick it up from, it's just, it feels like there's like 500 parents and 500 cultures. And is that what's contributing to global citizens, or is it contributing to kids who have identity crisis? Yani, sorry, my little spin.
How you see identity, because I do believe that we're in a positive place. Having information is power. And when you have more information, you're more aware and you're more at ease with other people. And you see, you could decide, however, you know, every person has the total freedom to decide if they want to keep themselves in a particular corner and dig into only their culture and reject other differences around them, or be open-minded to know, as Tayyib Saleh mentioned when he described himself close to the palm tree, having your roots there and knowing your background, where you come from and your principles, at the same time having wide open leaves exposed to the world around you. Because if you keep your kids right now, I do believe, with all this diversity behind, and you don't equip them well, your kid will be left behind to understand the diversity and they need to accept it and embrace it. I do believe so. At the same time, what you said is very important. We are all scared as mothers and as in society, because as you said, there's so many YouTubers, there's so many people from different backgrounds and different ways of thinking. But that's where we have our role. And I do believe we have it now harder than our mothers, because our mothers didn't have their children as exposed as we do with our children. We have our children exposed to so many different varieties of information and variables. But I believe that's what makes it different. But at the same time, it's challenging, but it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. I do believe if the world has just one color of flour, how boring it would be. If your meal had just one recipe, how boring it would be. In sociology, they say the melting pot, and then you have the salad bar. I think we
Yes.
mentioned that when you came to visit me.
Yeah.
And the salad bar is definitely something very interesting, because you have a variety and at the same place. I like that. Personally, and I like my kids, although it's a challenge for sure, to be exposed to different varieties of food, culture, tradition, to be able, the choice, the choice, I do believe. We lived in so many taboos as well. I
Yeah.
think, now we can talk about it. Our parents, maybe it was hard for them to talk about it. There's always negatives and positives, but I do believe we have more positives.
The thing is that again, I really feel like we're keying into this similar thing. But for example, when we talk about like the salad bowl or, you know, salad bar, in order for there to be diversity, there needs to be multiple different types of people and types of cultures and types of identities, right? So you either participate in growing the roots, which is creating a really strong identity for the kids so that they become the tomato or they become the carrot or they become the, you know, uh, the piece, like it's an identifiable piece. Like this is Fatima, she is Sudanese American, this is part of her culture. It's like she knows it, she's grounded in it, you know. But I feel like in our journey to create or help solidify our, you know, identities of our kids, we might lose face of the identity or altogether. So there isn't any diversity when you become all, right? It's a different thing. So I feel like maybe it's an age thing. Should perhaps kids at a younger age learn who they are, and then when they get a little bit older and more aware, the conversation starts shifting into, this is who you are, but we don't judge, or like, this is beautiful too, but this is beautiful. And that's, I think, part of the identity crisis that third culture children or children who are trying to be like parents who are trying to raise global citizens do, is that everything goes to the point where a kid will grow up not knowing, I don't know, am I part of this group? Do I believe in this? Do I believe in that? Do we do this in our culture? Do we have this tradition? Do we not? I think this is part of the world that we're going into. We're trying to produce or bring to the world like really grounded, knowing, strong, children. And it's difficult. I don't know how to summarize it other than it's difficult. But what do you think about what I just mentioned in terms of everything goes versus really strong identity as parents, giving them a really strong, like, this is who you are. You come from a family that is Sudanese, and you are Muslim, and you are this, and you are this, and you are this, but your version of it, your father, mother version, not the whole what's written in the internet, but mama, baba, this is what we do, this is us. But then once it's strong, Bibgafi, there's lots of others. What do you think about this type
Of
of?
how we see it in our household, how we try to implement it with our kids. Like, for instance, in our household, I make sure personally that we don't stereotype any culture or any person, no matter what. And when my kids, because they're kids, they definitely come to us and say, we see this and we see that, and how's that different? When they see and realize something different about someone, about another culture, religion, maybe, or tradition, we talk about it very openly and very casually and very naturally. And we compare it on the similarities and differences to what we practice at home.
Mm.
And how is it close to our family, and if we can use it in our family or not. How is it similar to us or different to us? And what is good for our family to move on with. We do that. We do that openly, and I believe it gives the children a totally new perspectives of challenges, what to embrace, how to move forward with. And it's very important for the child to be given an option and a way to choose and a way to think and a way to criticize. They need to criticize.
Yes. Yeah.
Black and white are there, but also gray is there. And if you don't
Mm.
have that option, this world filled with information, they will question you. They will question what you're giving them. They need to be proud of their origin, definitely, or where they come from, or what they like from their culture. Maybe they don't like everything in their culture.
Yeah.
It depends what kind of parent you want to be. However, they need to have an open mind. They need to understand, and they need to be able to question and get answers. I don't
Yeah.
believe there might be silly question, but there's no stupid question. There are questions I need to answer.
Yeah.
You need, yeah. So we do that in our household. We do believe that to be an open mind is meaning to understand others. Sometimes we keep talking about tolerance, but really we need to celebrate each other, that rather than only being tolerant to each other.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe so. And we need to take other examples in front of us. There's so many beautiful, unique traditions out there, whether in Sudan and in Mexico, everywhere. For instance, the Day of the Dead in Mexico, celebrating the dead, that they would come one day and come with us when they're totally gone. In Africa, yeah, in Africa, when in my culture, I know that death means black and means hidad for so many years, if not days. I know in Africa, they celebrate the life of this person, that this
Yeah.
person has lived, has gone, has brought children, has done. And it was amazing. I was amazed by it. You,
Yes.
you take things that you like, as long
Right.
as you don't get your background, I guess.
Yeah. No, actually, this is true. It is definitely kind of a formula that is very important for the success of the children, before they leave the house, is that the nuclear family. The nuclear family is you, your husband, and your three kids, and you, the five of you, create an identity, and that identity, yes, it could be taken as bits and pieces from lots of different places, and you create sometimes your own traditions that don't exist in any culture, right? And it becomes your identity, your rules. The house becomes a reflection of your identity. But this helps us because we now have a lot of mixed families, right? We come from families, whether they're literally interracial or from different cultures, and sometimes you yourself are different than your siblings, so you don't want your child to come and say, why does uncle so and so does this, why does your cousin so and so does this, aren't they Sudanese too, aren't it, so it is definitely something really beautiful, as you mentioned, about this having an identity. And you added to it, of course, the open-mindedness and being able to be critical. If we were to uh, take the definition of a global citizen, right? A global citizen is someone who is aware of and understands the wider world and their place in it. They take an active role in their community and work with others and make the planet a more peaceful, sustainable, and fairer place. This is something that I feel like defines a lot of what you do, and literally like what you represent out there in the world. Would you want to take a couple of minutes to introduce people who are here with us to Small World, and what inspired you to start that?
Definitely. I'm basically the founder and the president of Small World Foundation. It started 10 years ago. I'm proud to say that, very proud.
Wow,
And
decade.
yes, and it started with like-minded people who believe in the good deeds. And without them, I wouldn't be here today. I have to give credit to everyone who has worked with me, from volunteers, from committee members, from everyone who had their heart in the right place. Basically, in Small World, we focus on supporting children education in 38 countries worldwide, starting from Abu Dhabi, this generous land. When I was doing my university years in Lebanon, I wanted to give back to society. As when I lived in Nigeria, I was always close to feeling that children my age didn't have the same opportunities as me, and it always triggered my heart in a way or another. So when I came here, when I went to Lebanon and I was doing my university years, I wanted to volunteer. And I did volunteer in an orphanage where I taught English to children for 6 months. I thought it was so easy, but it was a bit difficult. And actually, they challenged me in so many ways. They were so smart and they were resilient. They had very sad stories and they were more powerful than even me right now. This made me promise myself that whatever I do in life, I will definitely have passion to continue through my future in supporting children's education throughout my life. And that's what I'm doing right now. I hope I continue as much as I can. When I came to Abu Dhabi, what I saw in Abu Dhabi, that the richness in Abu Dhabi is not really for me, the tall buildings and towers. It was really the multicultural. You meet the Mexican, the Sudanese, the Lebanese, the Nigerian. You meet people from all walks of life in one beautiful place that is safe, that is calm, that's very family oriented. And I thought, why not allowing the people who live here to give back to their communities back home, especially the children, something. We don't see people begging on the roads, but I have seen that in many places that I've visited. And it hurt my heart. And I felt I wanted to do something about it. And I felt that everyone, no matter where you're from, wherever you are in the world, when you hear your music of your own country, you'd feel goosebumps. You would remember your grandmother, your grandfather. I don't know, even if you visited once your homeland, you would feel something. And I felt, why not do something, a cultural event where everyone from all walks of life will be there and would come together and would support this event without any financial returns, whether with the dance, with the music, with the art piece, and taking part of this fund back home to support their children through the United Arab Emirates Red Crescent as well, who were our partners at that time. And that's how Small World started. It started with 28 embassies being on board in 28 communities in 2011, with His Excellency Sheikh Nahyan Mubarak Al Nahyan being the patron of Small World. He was so kind to even give a speech at Small World every single year. And that's how we started. And we continue until this day. We're very proud that we have reached 38 countries, more than 10,000 children worldwide. We've supported their education. And we keep moving forward with good people, with good deeds. That's what we do at Small World.
Would you say the biggest core impact that you guys are working on is children's education?
Definitely. Yeah, we started second year, Isra. The first year when I started Small World, when you shoot but you don't target, I did the same thing. I know what I wanted, but I did not target anything. So it was children in general. Second year, we focused on liberate and educate. We focus on children's education because I personally believe that education is the only thing and the skill that you give to a child that no one can take away from, and they can build a future no matter where they are and where they're from.
That is very true. I actually have seen that play over and over again, actually, in my own life and circle, starting with my father. I think if there wasn't that education field, he would be in a very different place. I would be in a very different place, and so on and so forth. Educate and liberate. Liberate. Could you explain liberate?
Liberate because we focus on children who have been abandoned, who have been trafficked, who were maybe in the army. Basically, children under child labor and children who have a past. And with such children, the only thing that you can give them mostly is a skill, because it's so hard for a 13-year-old to go back to school. And some of them you could actually manage to bring them back to the academic years. And a child in need in Pakistan is the same as child in need in India, in Syria, in Lebanon, in America. That's the same child. And the only thing you can give them that no one can take away from them, and they can use it in their life to make a future, to make a living without anyone abusing them or using them, is an education and a skill mainly, where they can use it and basically feed from it.
So basically, one of the questions, definitely, that we always think about and stuff, is that we're blessed in so many different ways. Our children are born into a blessed situation. I wouldn't necessarily say with a golden spoon in their mouth, but with a lot of less challenges than most of the rest of the world. So a person always thinks about, how do you level the fields between them and any other 11-year-old child or 9-year-old child. And education is definitely, you know, one of the ways to level the fields. Um, and definitely in certain countries more than others. There are certain countries that have policies towards wanting to solve these problems, and some countries, they don't even really care. They're just like so at the level of trying to secure electricity and water that children's education is like the last thing on their plate or list right now. Lakin that's how tanhad al-umam, right? Nations rise by the educated in them. How do you think we could, going back to the title of all of this, raising global citizens? A lot of people who have joined us today are probably really interested in that piece of it, is that they recognize we're in a globalized world. We in particular, if you live in the UAE, live in a very globalized world. Um, and you're thinking about how to raise characteristics in your child of a global citizen. So we will dedicate just a couple of minutes going through that. Salam, how do we raise global citizens?
Basically, first they should not stereotype. We should teach our children not to stereotype any culture on any person, no matter how different they are, how their culture is different, how their traditions may be different than ours. This is very important because us as humans, we tend to judge sometimes.
Mm,
Although I personally don't believe I'm perfect, and I keep telling my children, you're not perfect. I, it's very important not to stereotype because every person has their struggles, and every community or every single even like person have their own struggles.
mm,
And when we live in a multicultural environment, this is already an education environment. When we talk about education and diversity, you're already learning when you're in a diverse community, Isra. You're learning a language. Most people who are third culture kids, they're multilingual. They have
yeah.
more than two languages, most of them, two or
Actually,
more. Yeah.
43% of the world is bilingual, which is amazing. Yeah.
So this is amazing, and this is a plus. Most CEOs now of the world are always asking for a third culture kid because the rate of success is very high. They're very understanding. They can work under pressure. They're at ease and comfort in a multicultural environment, and they can succeed. They have the opportunities to grow and develop. So I do believe that raising global citizens is a very, very big word, and it's a big challenge for every single mother.
Yeah.
But it's a very big advantage for our children and for us as well. We are so lucky that we are in a place that we can allow growth.
Mm,
And amazing. I do believe how we can level. I do believe that people should have equal opportunities, no matter where they're from, no matter where their background is from. If they do get to a level that they're professional enough, they should have an equal opportunity like everyone else, no
mm,
matter the differences.
mm. That's of course a very complicated subject when you come to places like the US and stuff like that. Because there is the external and there is the internal working, and it's very messy
I
sometimes.
don't believe
Sometimes,
it's in the United States. I believe it's everywhere in the world, but
yeah,
maybe the United States allows more criticism. Let's be honest to each
mm.
other. They allow more criticism.
Right,
Let's say, so you
true.
can criticize as much as you want the United States because they allow it,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
it's everywhere. We as humans are very similar, more similar than we are different, actually. I wanted to say this before we finalize our conversation. I do believe we want to always maybe differentiate ourselves, but we're so similar. We
Mm,
have we want better for our kids, ourselves.
mm,
uh, we crave for our children to do the better thing, to not steal, to not lie, to be the better person of themselves, to have relationships. We have so many similarities more than we have differences, and if we can really celebrate these differences, we'd be much closer together
mm.
and make the world a more peaceful, more tolerant, more understanding and more accepting place.
Yes, that's so true. And even like you touched upon all of the different things about, like when I think about like global citizenship, I really think about, I guess one of the main things that changes your experience in the world is how many languages you can speak. That really gives you a key. I always like, you know, when I come here, I feel like sometimes I have a very different experience to a lot of expats that are coming from America because my ability of speaking Arabic. Even though most of the people that I connected with because I speak Arabic speak English also, but there is something about that ability of like speaking it, and not like, you know, the yalla habibi, but like speaking Arabic, that makes you feel like you belong immediately with various groups of people. So think about the number of countries that speak Arabic. Suddenly, like you have a closer relationship and friendships with people from, you know, the UAE and Lebanon and Syria and like Egypt, all of these different countries, in addition to all of the people who speak English, right? So it broadens your experience. And it's really a struggle right now for our children to learn Arabic, even though, you know, they learn it in school and stuff.
Because it's
It's
a hard language, because we went through it. I personally went through it, so I understand my children. But what I do with my kids in the household, I try to tell them that I will not answer you back until you speak to me Arabic. Of course, they're going to ask me about the iPad. They're going to ask for everything. So they have to sometimes speak to me in Arabic. And trust me, I'm still struggling. But I want to try to pass on the legacy that my parents gave me to them, to make sure they speak and write Arabic very well. But it's a struggle still. But I hope.
yeah, yeah, and hopefully, you know, even adding like, you know, I read somewhere that if you speak English and Mandarin, you can speak to like 1.7 billion people or something, just between those two languages. Throw in Arabic and French, suddenly, خلاص, يعني the world is really opening up. It's definitely language and being exposed to different cultures. And as you said, it's not only the exposure, it's celebrating, right? Celebrating
Yes.
diversity.
World. It's a new, bright, broad window to every world. It's knowledge. It's new spectrum. A total new spectrum. It's amazing.
I'm gonna ask one last question maybe, or one after it. What do you think is the role of spirituality in growing global citizens? Because when you think about characters like, I don't know, Mother Teresa and da da da, there's something that is integrated into a lot of faiths around the world, right? Of um, the unity. The unity is a concept, like even when you think about like Islam and stuff like that, they talk about Tawheed, right? Um, we're all one, kullana min Adam, or, you know, all of these different things. And we're maybe moving more toward a world where it shifted into um I don't want to say secularism, but like kind of less belief world that we're in. But do we think that there is a positive role of adding to the list of how can we raise global citizens, to add spirituality into the mix of it? I'm asking all these the hot seat questions.
Sure. But being a small world, basically, there are two things we don't come across as religion and politics. But I will answer your question. Basically, I think it's a set of values at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's
And
why I said spirituality. I didn't say religion because that's messy. That's very messy, and it could be carried in the wrong way, in exact opposite way than you want it. But just having that spirit, believing in more than what you see. There is
yeah,
more to the world than that.
I think it's a set of values, basically, and in some instances also practices. But most importantly, you can embrace values that are in alignment, let's say, with yours, and
Okay.
those that aren't. You can simply respect them and step back, not taking them. It's
Right.
much simpler than actually, I do believe that when you put your head on that pillow, when you look at your own God, no one is watching you. And that's really
Yeah.
spirituality is. It's in your heart, between you and your creator, what you believe in. To each his own. Live and let live. I personally, in my household, I'm giving very personal experiences. I'm sorry for this, Isra,
I
but
like that. This is community table. Yes.
believe in that. I believe that to each his own. Live and let live. Don't judge others. Don't stereotype. You can believe in whatever God you want and let go. Other people can do the same as long as they don't put مثل بالعربي. There's a saying in Arabic. حريتك تتوقف عند حرية الآخرين. Your freedom stops at the beginning of the freedom of others. I don't know
Yeah.
if I said it right or I translated it right. Basically, other people have the right to be free, and you as well.
Yeah.
So, even that saying, yeah,
Yeah.
I do.
That is very awesome. Thank you very much for that. And it is definitely, just to summarize that, is that, without al-musammayat, without these, putting the titles to them, it's a set of values. And I think that it's shared by a lot of people who want to do good. You'll end up with the same list of values, actually. Yeah, for sure. Like you see it across, lots of different faiths and stuff like that. So I think we are coming to the end of this, because we do want to open it up to people who are on the Zoom, and if people have questions out in Facebook also, who have been with us. If, you could raise your hand if you have a comment or if you have a question, or if you're there. No, just kidding.
Okay.
Yeah, no, definitely, the thing about, this topic, it's which makes it, very interesting and stuff like that, is that whether we like it or not,
It relates to everyone. We're moving into
yeah,
a more diverse world, and everyone could feel that they're part of this, I guess. In a way or another.
absolutely. You can't even choose not to raise a global citizen anymore. It's like it's part of the moving forward, you know, in raising and in parenting. Moving forward means they need to be more aware with things that are around them. Esma asks, what is it? Facebook Live will be saved there. Would you please share the link? Seems like all right. Lots of people who are global citizens and have third culture children in her network. We will definitely do that. I guess just to toss in some last comment or question.
Is it a global citizen is the same as a third child from Asma Ali?
Share it with my circle. And then that's a different question under it. Global citizen, same as a third culture child. Is a global citizen the same as a third culture child? I guess the two different definitions are.
Two different definitions. A third culture child is in a way or another a global citizen if they choose to become, of course, because some people want to choose to stay maybe in a particular corner, fold onto themselves and their own culture, rejecting other cultures and other maybe different perspectives. But I personally do believe that most third culture children or adults are global citizens. That's in my humble opinion. I don't know what you think about it, Isra.
Actually, third culture child is people who are raised in a culture other than their parents' culture, right? So it would be, for example, your parents are from Syria and you were raised in Nigeria. My parents are from Sudan and we were raised in the US. That's in simply like the definition of the third culture child. But the global citizen, it's an awareness, it's a way of being. It's not just taking someone from a culture and inserting them into another culture. It's you being aware of different cultures, what you do with that, that whole 360 experience of learning new languages, connecting with other people and all of that. So as Salam said, actually, is that you could be a third culture child and not a global citizen. It's rare, because the type of people who choose to be in different cultures, already you're thinking about people who are educated and people who are seeking opportunities outside of their circle. So it's very rare that you find that, but who knows, like it could be a, yeah, it could be a family that's like that. Last but not least, I guess like another thing about it is that, you know, the stereotyping and with humor. So one of the things that I find more difficult, I'm just like sharing my own experience with globalization, is humor. I love humor. I love to crack jokes. I'm really silly, and I just, even if I want to know about the news in the US, I watch Trevor Noah. Like I can't even watch the news. So I like to laugh while collecting information, and I like to joke a lot. Now, as you get older, you start realizing that there are no, like, it's a lot of jokes have something to do with either mimicking someone, mimicking a language, mimicking a culture, something like that. A lot of the jokes are part of that. And it made me realize, like in one of the instances, my daughter Fatima is fabulous in copying accents, lots of different accents and stuff like that. And I'm beginning to become a little bit uncomfortable with that, because yesterday she asked my mom, she said, would I change my name? And my mom said, what did you change your name into? And she memorized that long African name, like she started like saying that. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, how would that look like if she's thinking that she's connecting with someone from that culture? What would that look like? So humor always is, as people are becoming more aware about like putting people down and they don't, humor really gets lost in the way. And I'm wondering if one day we're going to have a proper politically correct world that's going to just say humor is canceled. No, but anyways, that's my own fear. Just my own, you know, thoughts and stuff like that, and fears. But it's a problem actually as we go on with that. Seems like there are some questions on this side. There is, why is global citizenship important? And then there is, how do you draw a line and stop your protective instinct as a parent and let your child experience the world, knowing they might come across something that might hurt them or traumatize them? Protective
Well,
instinct.
increased exposure to a variety of perceptions and lifestyles, I believe, allows these kind of children who are living in a culture other than their own to monitor their emotions and register social norms, and I don't know, basically adopt and adopt to different norms, not norms, but different cultures as well. And acceptance, the acceptance is so important. And I do believe it's the parents who need to teach that acceptance from the home. And I mean by acceptance, not necessarily changing your own beliefs or traditions. It's accepting others and allowing others to accept you in return. I'm not saying when I say acceptance is that changing your whole perspective over life. It's being an open-minded person to maybe take from your culture what you like most and be exposed to other cultures. Allow yourself to mingle and be around and understand that those people who exist also come from different types of backgrounds and they have something to offer. Definitely there are challenges. I think Nada is a mom that maybe is feeling some challenges, which is so normal because we all do, by the way, not only you, in a particular time, and especially when our kids are in their teens. I have not got there, but I'm already thinking of that. We will be worried because you want to give them, like Tayyip Saleh said, that root, the deep roots of their belonging, of their background, tradition, and culture. And yet, when you want them to be exposed, you want them to be very carefully exposed, which I don't know how careful they could be. But we have to try our best because we're moving into a world that even at home right now, your children are not alone. With the internet, we used to live we were in a bubble compared to our kids, honestly. And thinking of that, what they are exposed to over the internet, they're already exposed to the world wherever they are. I
Mm,
do believe the continuation, the consistency, sustainability of you talking to them all the time and showing them, giving them the choice, but at the same time showing them where they're from, what they are, the right principles in the household that might make a difference in their choices.
mm, mm, mm. And also like looking at that question, I really feel like um, the whole part of coming across something that might hurt them or traumatize them, there's a huge spectrum in that. Long time ago, when I was trying to volunteer with my children at a hospital or something like that, a friend of mine thought that was traumatizing for children to know about illness and sickness and chronic diseases and death. Like, she wanted her kids to be carefree, and that is traumatizing. So traumatizing could be anything. It could be like watching something that is X-rated, like inappropriate. It could be going to a cancer hospital. So different people adopt or are
Think,
protective of their children in different ways, right?
of course, of course. And there's confused loyalties as well. It comes with culture and background and so many things. There is, to be honest, identity crisis sometimes, but it really comes back all to the house, to the household, as well as what they're exposed to. It's the balance in between, I guess, that we need to really work on, the balance between what you really want your children to be rooted as and what you're allowing them to be exposed to. And we have to be very careful here because they will, at this time and this place, not in Abu Dhabi, but I mean in the world, in a place that the world has never been more interconnected, they will be exposed to so many things. And that's why strong roots and an open-mindedness would really lessen the confused loyalties, I guess.
Mm, 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 mm. It's yeah, it's definitely a thing, and we all have that protectiveness in many different ways. And sometimes we need to look into actually also like our protectiveness. Like, is it sometimes we're reflecting things that are our own fears or things that we have learned from, like, background or instilled. For example, it is very normal for a parent to be worried about and wanting to protect their children from being kidnapped or uh, being around the wrong people at the wrong time or something like that. But you find with some parents, it's really extreme, like to the point where there has to be huge entourages and very like, oh my God, I can't see them for a few minutes. Where is that coming from? So there is some balance of, like, that protection. It is natural. You want to protect your child and make sure that they don't traumatize, but also like checking in with that
The
and
equilibrium
seeing that.
is what
Yes, yeah,
I guess.
yeah, yeah. And just taking a last one so that we can wrap up at 9:15. Um, what is one thing we can do to entitle as a global citizen? Maybe I'll link that also as why is global citizenship important? Why is global citizenship important?
Because I believe eventually and indirectly we're all becoming global citizens in a way or another. If we're not exposed to the salad bar directly, we are exposed to it through the internet, which I do believe everyone now through their phone, they have their TV, their book, their history, their email, everything. And we are exposed to it naturally. And that's where the world is going. So we are global citizens wherever we are in the world right now. It's
Yeah.
becoming more and more intense. Yes, we have definitely to teach our children how to be careful from, especially bullying. Cyberbullying is something that's that children should be aware of, and parents need to educate their children of. But how to raise them, make them become more understanding, more tolerant, not judging others, live and let live,
Mm,
not stereotype basically, but and openly speak to them about everything. Conversations, communication is the key. I do believe that you can go and get an education in a university and get a degree, and there's this other type of education, which is the life education, the culture education, which you can never buy and which you can never go to university to get. You need to get it through the life experience, through your family, your friends, and through the everyday life, and which is as important, if not more important. to me personally.
Mm,
And this is what really makes individuals different, and different in the way they perceive things and they react to things around them.
mm, mm. And you know, this is like you always, like whenever you speak, it just brings out, like, you know, a lot of a lot of thoughts about that. Global citizenship is definitely like an experience, uh, more than like a theory. And right now we are all, in one way or the other, global citizens. I guess the line is between, are you a good global citizen or are you a terrible one? Are you aware that you're a global citizen or are you not aware of it? You're just in the matrix and you don't know what's going on. So it is, in a sense, we are all globalized. If you look into your household, if you look at the way you dress, if you look at the way you think, these thoughts and all of this permeates. If they're, yeah,
What you purchase as well. It's
yes.
really everything around us. We are so interconnected in a way that it has never happened before. Like our grandparents and parents have not gone through what we're going through and what our children are going to go through.
Mm,
It's also different. This is different era, different
yeah.
world.
It is definitely a different world that we're living in. And not only are we need to think about global citizenship, but also, as we build our roots, thinking about ambassadorships. I think each and every one of us are ambassadors when you show up in the world to whatever is your background. Like, it's a burden for some groups more than others, to kind of break down the stereotypes. And I like how many times you mentioned, don't stereotype, we don't stereotype. It's a really big thing, and it makes stereotyping really makes uh, other people's experiences in the world very difficult. And I've had my share of them, but it changed with the way I carried myself, definitely. It was very, very normal for me to walk into stores and people wouldn't serve me. In this day and age, only a couple of years ago, in a very globalized world. Like, if I go in and I ask for a watch, the guy would literally look at me and say, "You can't afford this. Let me show you this other one." And you would be like,
Like Pretty Woman.
"Really?" Yes, it's kind of, really? Oh, okay, okay.
Like
Like, so,
it is ignorance, Isra. Really, people who would do this, and I understand you completely because I've heard such stories from so many people, and I guess it's not you. You're not the problem. And it is really the problem, the person serving and thinking that they could judge the other. It all goes back to stereotypes and judgments, judging if a person has the amount or not forgetting their job, forgetting to be professional.
yeah.
Really, it's so sad. Being an ambassador is setting up an example for others to follow, to be tolerant, accepting. Like I said before, the description I love a lot about being a palm tree. Always cling and appreciate your culture. At least what you like from it, it's important, to have a sense of belonging. Yet approach new encounters and experiences with an open mind and a desire to learn and improve on
Mm,
what you know. I guess that's really, we don't need like to read books and books and books to live life. It's
mm,
from the heart and from the mind, and to be humble, I
mm,
guess.
mm. And this is definitely a good place to end this call. I actually love going for 2-3 hours and community table, but one of my goals is to learn to cap it at, an hour, 15 minutes.
Thank you so much
And
for
I
this. Beautiful. I enjoyed it as I enjoy every conversation between us.
Thank you. Thank you. And I definitely always, whenever we have a chat, you learn something. And I like how we have a lot of similarities and we have different spins on things, yet the core is very similar. So I always enjoy talking to you. Always. كالعادة دايما.
Me too.
So thank you very much to all of you guys who are here. This is going to be archived and there at any time on facebook.com/community table, so that you can share it with your friends and so on and so forth. Uh, our next call is going to be on Tuesday. and it's going to be with Abdurrahman, who is a refugee advocate, Monadal, some amazing person who has survived a genocide in Darfur and now built a beautiful life with him, the love of his life, who he went and found and married, and their children. And his story is so inspiring. So I really hope that you guys could tune in next week to talk to a father about his perspective about all of this next week, inshallah. And sign up for the newsletter at communitytable.com. And please also take the time to look at Small World Global at their Instagram page, their Facebook page also. It's Small World Global also on Facebook.
Yes, Small World Global on Facebook and on Instagram.
And on Instagram. So please do that also. Thank you guys and have a wonderful day.
Thank you all ladies and gentlemen who are with us today. See you, Isra. Take care and
All
have
right.
a